In Chapter 7, we are transitioning from our study of how to collect data, how to analyze data from graphical perspectives and numerical summaries, looking at probability and how that can be used to help us answer questions. We're going to take all of that, and now we're going to learn about statistical inference. When we talk about statistical inference, it's where we're going to try to draw a conclusion for an entire population by looking simply at a sample. So how is it that we can take a sample and use that sample to help us understand the larger population? And that's the powerful possibilities that we have using statistics. So why might we be interested in doing something like this? Well, perhaps there's a question that you want to answer. So if you have some question about the population that you're interested in answering, you would first pose the question, then collect the data, and then use these statistical inference methods in order to draw some conclusions. So here's an example of a study that some researchers were interested in. They wanted to know how truthful are people on online dating sites. So this came from the paper Self-Presentation in Online Personals, the Role of Anticipated Future Interactions, Self-Disclosure, and the Perceived Success in Internet Dating. So they designed a statistical study to investigate the misrepresentation of personal characteristics. So here are 3 questions that they wanted to answer. What proportion of online daters believe that they have misrepresented themselves in an online profile? What proportion of online daters believe that others frequently misrepresent themselves? And finally, are people who place a greater importance on developing a long-term face-to-face relationship more honest in their online profiles? So from this study, they were able to estimate that only about 6% of people believe that they intentionally misrepresented themselves in online profiles. However, 86% of people believe that others frequently misrepresented characteristics such as physical appearance. So it's interesting that only 6% of people think that they do it, but 86% of people think that other people are misrepresenting themselves. So there seems to be a huge disconnect here. So this data is supporting the claim that those who place greater importance on developing a long-term face-to-face relationship are more honest in their online profiles. Now that we're going to transition into statistical inference, we want to start asking the right questions about these studies. So one of the questions that we might want to consider is, how are these researchers able to reach these conclusions? We need to recognize that these estimates were based on sample data. And so are these estimates an accurate picture of the entire population of online daters? And finally, how did the researchers come to the conclusion that people who placed greater importance on long-term relationships were more honest? Should we be convinced that this is true? So we need to learn what to look for in these studies and learn how these inferences are made in order to evaluate research that's presented to us.